Hi y'all, it is Brittany from Books by Brit, and we are back with another video. Today I am going to go into the writing process. I will be speaking specifically about children's books, however, these tips apply to any sort of writing. So let's go! Before you jump into writing, you need to set the vibe and get in the right headspace, okay? With children's book writing in particular, I like to look at some of my favorite children's books I have around the house still. I like to go on YouTube and watch some of my old favorite shows, listen to some of my favorite Disney songs. It's a lot of fun, and it really helps me get into the headspace of a child, because we are children, we're adults writing for children. So it can be really, really helpful to connect to your inner child, and that's really gonna help you in your writing process. Okay, now that you are 7 years old again, it is time to brainstorm your topic. I like to start out by thinking about what I cannot stop talking about. Like, what are your passions? Like, what is something that your friends are like, okay, like, stop talking about that, we're tired of hearing about it. Okay, write about that. When it comes to writing children's books, you are not only looking to entertain, but you are looking to inform. It may not feel this profound when you are writing, but you are quite literally influencing the next generation. I can still think about some of my favorite children's books, like Boom Chicka Pop. Shout out Boom Chicka Pop. How profound. But for real, there are some books that will stay with me forever. Even if I don't remember the exact storyline, I do remember the feelings that I got and the lessons I received from reading those books. So let's take the Lorax, for example. Shout out Dr. Seuss, kind of. Take your stories, leave your racism, thank you. With the Lorax, you received the very obvious political and social message. But as a kid, I walked away with an understanding that, one, not everything is renewable, and I need to cherish and value the resources I do have. And two, is that I have power. The choices and behaviors that I have matter. Like this truffle seed in my hand, and if I care enough, I can change the world. I couldn't articulate all of that back then, but I had the feelings. You feel me? To do this, I start free writing. I take out a big piece of paper and I start writing a bunch of ideas. I write down beliefs I have. I write down opinions and thoughts, feelings that I have, things that I think about often. It doesn't have to make sense. So I don't always write words. A lot of times I'll write drawings or diagrams. It doesn't have to make sense to anybody but yourself. And this can be a really, really helpful way to just get it from your head to paper. I feel like as writers, there's a lot of ideas swimming in our heads all the time. And so this is a really, really helpful way to put some sort of ink to that. After your brain dump, you should have a little bit of a better idea of what you want your topic to be. After I understand, what concept I'm going for, I create a story arc. The beginning is going to be your premise, and then conflict is going to rise, and then stuff happens, you have a resolution. With children's books, they're only like 30 pages, so you need to make sure to go from introduction to problem pretty quickly. And as an aside, this story arc step is a great time to map out any obvious concepts that you're trying to teach in your book. So for example, with Ava Mae, it teaches entrepreneurial mindsets and vocabulary. Before I had detailed the storyline, I already had the story arc and knew what concepts I wanted to hit on and what vocab I wanted before I detailed the story. Now, once you have the overall storyline, it's time to get into the meat and the potatoes. So what is going to occur between the end and the beginning that will bring your characters to a resolution? I like to find a solution that helps them solve the problem a little bit, but it's fun when those solutions create more problems, or they think about something else and they have to brainstorm even more. That keeps the story interesting. In Ava and Mae Own a Lemonade Stand, their first problem is that they run out of sugar. And so a solution could be, oh, let's go to Betty's Bakery. She always has sugar. But then it creates another opportunity for a problem or a challenge that they need to overcome, which is trying to figure out how to convince Miss Betty to give them the sugar. Another thing to make sure to include, in addition to conflict, is to give surprises. Have you ever watched a movie and you're like, I know exactly how this is gonna end, and you can tell every single scene before it even happens? That's not the most fun. So That being said, when you are writing for children, it can be a little more cliche. Like, it doesn't have to be like a complete mystery. It can be a lot more straightforward, but you want to surprise them. You want to keep it spunky. You want to keep it fun, cute, and quirky. So once I've developed a more comprehensive story arc, I actually get a new poster board and I draw out 32 squares and I start sketching out the scenes before I actually write it down. I wish I still had the poster board that I used to write the first Ava Mae book. I think that writing this way is really helpful because as you're writing, you're already thinking about how you may want the illustrations to be positioned. This gives you kind of a head start when it comes to the time where you're gonna actually have to engage with your illustrator. So once I have it drawn out and I have the ideas mapped out, I put it in the form of an outline on a Word doc. And so once this is outlined, this is the part where you can actually start writing in your style and write out how you would actually want it to be read by readers. You are ready to edit, and it is totally fine if you end up changing a lot in the editing process. That's what it's for. If you go along as you write the story and then you realize that it would flow better if this scene was over this scene, or you change some things, go for it. Don't be afraid. It's really, really normal for you to actually end up with a completely different story after you've gone through the editing process. And I'm going to explain. I'm going to break this up into 2 parts. There is editing that you do with yourself, and then there is feedback, which is a hugely important part. When it comes to you and yourself, you're going to read out the storyline. You need to read it out loud to understand how it's going to sound. How does it feel to read? Because as a children's book author, when you do events, when you engage with children, a lot of these children are not reading these books themselves. They are consuming it through an adult or someone else reading it to them. So not only does it have to read well in your head, but it is almost more important that it reads well reading out loud. So read over your draft a few times. You'll understand how you want certain things to change. And I recommend going broad and looking at the storyline, and then once you read it out loud, change the way that you word certain things. When it comes to feedback, when you are making your storyline and you have it written out, I urge you to walk through this with as many close friends as you can or you feel comfortable with. It doesn't have to be a bunch of people. I like to do a handful of people. Like for my stories, I usually have go over the storyline with 5 people and see kind of how the vibes are received before going any further. And so there's that. There's telling the storyline to people. There's explaining the story and how they feel about it. And then I recommend getting actual edits from a friend, sending the document to maybe a couple people in your target market. So if you know some parents or some teachers, just sending them a rough draft and being hey, what do you think about this? I do have some people that I know, some mentors that are writers themselves, and a lot of times people are really happy to collaborate with you if you're looking for feedback. With all that feedback that you're receiving from your circle, you still need to get professional edits. And so there may be some things that change about your storyline while you're getting professional edits. That would be the developmental edit portion. Go ahead and click this video right here to learn more about that. Yeah, so get professional edits. That's not an option. You have to get that. Discernment, right? After you write your story, you get all this feedback, there's going to be some stuff that you will want to consider, but a lot of these opinions are exactly that. They are just opinions. And at the end of the day, you are the captain of the ship, you are the writer. As you get to writing more, you'll understand what feels good, what doesn't feel good for you. Sometimes it's hard to not listen to the opinions of others, especially when there's so many contradictive opinions that are coming your way, but that's why it's really important to stay true to yourself and to understand what your vision ultimately is. Example of this would be in the Ava and Mae books. There is a statement that says, no matter the time, no matter the day, Ava and Mae find a way. When we first went through the edits, I didn't really understand the phrase, but that phrase is really important to me. She didn't know this, but in my head as a writer, I was imagining, I'm going to be reading to a group of children. They're going to be excited and encouraged about the story. And I wanted them to repeat that phrase back to me and get really, really excited about not giving up, about working in teams, and about being creative. And I kept it in there because of that. There was a part of me that was like, oh, is this dumb? Is this stupid? You know what I mean? But once I got around to my first classroom visit, exactly that happened. They loved the statement. They loved how it rhymed. They said it in unison. And I was like, this is the moment I've always wanted. yeah, I mean, I just listen to your gut and heed people's advice, but stay true to yourself. That's what I'm trying to say. So that's a wrap, folks. That is a little sneak peek into my writing process. Comment down below if you have anything to say about any of these tips, if you have any tips of your own. Us as a community need to help each other. And yeah, I would love to hear your thoughts if any of this was helpful. If you're still here, smash that like button, ring the notification bell. If you have any writers in your life, they may find this video really helpful. So don't be afraid to share it. Please, it would help me so much. Okay, bye. Look at my shirt. Look at my shirt. It's Santa. It's Santa on vacation. It's a black Santa on vacation. I thrifted it. I'm very happy about it. Very, very proud. It's giving everything it needs to give.